Story. Many years ago, in the city of Abuja, there lived a girl named Zema. Life was good when her parents were alive. They laughed together, ate together, and loved each other. But then something terrible happened. Her parents died in an accident when she was just a teenager, and Zema's whole world fell apart like a house of cards in the wind. With nowhere else to go, Zema packed a small bag and moved in with her only relative, her mother's younger brother, Uncle Chidi. At first, she thought maybe things would be okay. Uncle Chidi seemed nice enough. He smiled at her and told her, "Welcome to our home." But Uncle Chidi's wife, that woman was a different story completely. Auntie Ngozi had a smile that could turn ice cold the moment her husband left the house. The first time it happened, Zema was shocked. 1 minute, Auntie Ngozi was laughing and talking sweetly. The next minute, as soon as Uncle Chidi's car drove away, she turned to Zema with eyes like an angry cat. "Let me tell you something, small girl," Auntie Ngozi said, pointing a finger in Zema's face. "If your foolish mother had not run away to marry that useless man she called your father, she would still be alive today. And I would not be stuck here feeding and housing an unruly brat like you." The words hit Zema like slaps. She wanted to cry, but she swallowed her tears and said nothing. What could she say? She had nowhere else to go. And so began Zema's new life, while Uncle Chidi's daughter, Adana, lived like a princess in a castle. Zema lived like Cinderella before the fairy godmother showed up. Adana went to the most expensive private school in Abuja. Every morning, a driver in a clean uniform would open the car door for her. "Good morning, Princess Adana," he would say. Adana would enter the car like she was entering a private jet, not even saying thank you. Meanwhile, Zema would be sweeping the compound in her old slippers, watching the car drive away. When Zema was lucky enough to go to school, she walked barefoot to the public school down the street. The school was so crowded that sometimes 3 students had to share one desk. But Zema didn't complain. At least she was learning something. Most days though, Auntie Ngozi wouldn't let her go to school at all. "Adana needs her school uniform washed and ironed. The whole house needs to be cleaned. Who will cook lunch if you go to school? You think school is more important than helping this family that is feeding you?" Zema would nod and pick up the broom, the mop, the washing bucket. She became the housemaid, except she wasn't even paid like a maid. She didn't even sleep in the main house. Her small mattress was in the boys' quarters behind the compound, in a tiny room that got so hot during the day, she felt like a fish being fried. Adana's room, that one was like a hotel. Big bed with soft pillows, air conditioner that hummed all night, a TV, a laptop, clothes from Dubai that still had their price tags on them, shoes lined up like soldiers, everything a girl could want. But still, Zema never complained. Every night, before she slept on her thin mattress in that hot room, she would say a small prayer. "Thank you that I have a roof over my head. Thank you that I have food to eat, even if it's the leftovers after everyone has finished." The food part was its own story. The family would sit around the big dining table eating jollof rice and chicken. Zema would serve them, running back and forth to the kitchen, bringing water, bringing salt, bringing tissue paper. After everyone had eaten and gone to their rooms, only then could Zema sit down. By that time, the rice was cold and the chicken bones had been picked clean, but she would eat and be grateful. This was Zema's life, day after day, week after week, year after year, until one day, everything changed. Uncle Chidi had just made a big business deal with one of the richest men in Nigeria. This man, Chief Okonkwo, owned the biggest import business in the whole country. He was so rich that when he sneezed, money fell out. Okay, not really, but you get the point. The man was seriously loaded. Uncle Chidi and Chief Okonko needed to sign some papers to finish their business deal. But Chief Okonko was too busy, so he sent his son to Uncle Chidi's house to sign the documents. When Auntie Ngozi heard that Chief Okonko's son was coming to their house, the woman nearly lost her mind with excitement. "Adana! Adana!" she screamed, running into her daughter's room like the house was on fire. Adana was lying on her bed, scrolling through her phone. "Mommy, why are you shouting like that? Chief Okonko's son is coming to this house today." So, Adana didn't even look up from her phone. Auntie Ngozi snatched the phone out of her daughter's hand. So, are you dull? This is your chance. That boy is single, he's rich, he's handsome. If you play your cards right, you could marry him. Mommy, I don't even know him. Does that matter? Wear that expensive blouse I bought you from Dubai, the one that cost 50,000 naira. And wear those diamond earrings. Do your makeup. Spray the perfume that smells like heaven. Today, you must shine like the star that you are. Auntie Ngozi was running around the room like a headless chicken, pulling out clothes, holding them up, shaking her head, throwing them on the bed. Finally, she found the perfect outfit. She dressed Adana up like she was going for a beauty pageant, not just meeting her father's business partner's son. When Toby Okonko arrived that afternoon, Adana was positioned in the living room like a mannequin in a shop window. Her makeup was perfect. Her outfit was expensive. She looked like she had just stepped out of a magazine. Uncle Chidi welcomed Toby with a big smile and a handshake that lasted too long. "Welcome, my boy. Welcome. Please sit down. You're looking well. How is your father?" "He's fine, sir." He sent his greetings. Toby sat down and opened his briefcase, pulling out the documents. Auntie Ngozi practically pushed Adana forward. "Toby, this is our daughter, Adana. Adana, say hello to Toby." "Hello," Adana said with a smile she had practiced in the mirror. Toby looked up briefly, nodded politely, and went back to reading the documents. Hello. That was it. No second glance. No "wow, you look beautiful." Nothing. Auntie Ngozi's smile started to crack like old paint. "Would you gentlemen like some tea?" Uncle Chidi asked. "Yes, that would be nice," Toby replied, still reading the papers. Uncle Chidi called out, "Zema, bring tea for our guest." A few minutes later, Zema came out of the kitchen carrying a tray. She was wearing a simple wrapper and blouse. Her hair was tied back with an old scarf. Her feet were bare because her only pair of slippers had broken that morning. She kept her eyes down as she walked, careful not to trip or spill anything. She placed a cup in front of Uncle Chidi, then one in front of Toby. "Your tea, sir," she said quietly, her voice as soft as a whisper. And that's when it happened. Toby looked up to say thank you and his eyes landed on Zema. And then they just stuck there, like glue. He forgot what he was supposed to be saying. He forgot about the documents in his hand. He forgot about everything except the girl standing in front of him with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Zema didn't notice. She just bowed slightly and backed away toward the kitchen. But Toby's eyes followed her all the way until she disappeared through the door. Uncle Chidi coughed. "Toby, the documents?" "Oh yes. Sorry." Toby blinked and looked back down at the papers, but his mind was somewhere else completely. When Zema left, Toby couldn't help himself. "That girl," he said. "Who is she?" Auntie Ngozi's smile died completely. Uncle Chidi shifted in his seat. Oh, that's just Zema. She's my niece. She's been staying with us since her parents died. She's lovely, Toby said, and there was something in his voice that made Auntie Ngozi want to scream. The meeting ended quickly after that. Toby signed the papers, shook hands, and left, but he kept looking back at the house, hoping to catch one more glimpse of the girl with the gentle eyes. As soon as Toby's car was gone, Auntie Ngozi grabbed her husband's arm. Did you see that? See what? That boy. He couldn't take his eyes off someone in this house. Uncle Chidi nodded slowly. Yes, I noticed. He was clearly looking at Adana. Auntie Ngozi lied without even blinking. This is perfect. We should arrange a marriage between them. Think about it. If Adana marries into the Okonkwo family, we will be rich. Richer than we ever dreamed. Uncle Chidi wasn't so sure. He had eyes. He saw where Toby was looking, and it wasn't at Adana. But his wife kept talking and talking, and slowly the idea started to sound good. A marriage with the Okonkwo family would solve all his money problems. He would become powerful, respected, rich. A few days later, Uncle Chidi called Chief Okonkwo on the phone. Chief, I've been thinking. Your son came to my house recently, and I noticed something. He seemed very interested in my daughter Adana. They are both at the right age for marriage. What do you think about joining our families together? On the other end of the phone, Chief Okonkwo laughed loud and long. Ah, this is wonderful news. I've been begging that boy to settle down and get married. If he likes your daughter, then you have my blessing. Let's start making arrangements. When Toby came home that evening, his father called him into the study with a big smile on his face. My son, I have good news. I found you a wife. Toby's heart jumped. You mean? Yes, Chief Chidi's daughter Adana. He told me you were interested in her. The wedding preparations will start immediately. What? Toby jumped up like someone had poured hot water on him. Father, I never said I wanted to marry Adana. Then who do you want to marry? You've rejected every girl I've brought to you. Now finally you show interest in someone and you're saying no again. I do want someone from that house, Toby said desperately. But it's not Adana. It's Zema, Chief Chidi's niece. Chief Okonkwo's face changed, like someone had switched off a light. The orphan girl? You want to marry an orphan when you can marry the man's real daughter? Have you gone mad? I will never allow you to marry that girl. You will marry Adana, and that's final. But father, I said fine now. You're not getting any younger. You will marry Adana in 2 months. End of discussion. Chief Okonkwo walked out of the study and slammed the door. Toby felt like crying. He called his best friend Bayo and asked to meet him at their favorite spot. Bayo took one look at Toby's face and ordered him a drink. What happened? You look like someone who just lost ₦1,000,000. Toby told him everything about seeing Zema and falling in love at first sight, about his father forcing him to marry Adana instead, about how every time he went back to Uncle Chidi's house hoping to see Zema, she was mysteriously not around. They're hiding her from me, Bayo, and they're telling my father lies about her. They said she's a bedwetter. Can you imagine? A grown woman. They said she's a thief, that she has kleptomania. They're trying to make her sound crazy, so I'll marry their daughter instead. Do you believe them? Bayo asked. Not even a little bit. The girl I saw had kind eyes. She moved with so much grace and respect. Those aren't the eyes of a thief or a crazy person. But what can I do? My father won't listen to me, and I can't get close to Zema to even talk to her. Bayo shook his head. This is a serious problem. Tell me about it. The next few weeks were like torture for Toby. His mother was busy planning the engagement party. Invitations were printed. A hall was booked. Auntie Ngozi was buying Adana new clothes every day. Everything was moving forward like a fast train, and Toby couldn't stop it. Then, 3 days before the engagement party, something happened that changed everything. Toby was driving home from a meeting when another car ran a red light and crashed into him. Gee-bam! The sound was loud like thunder. Toby's car spun around and hit another car. Glass was flying everywhere. Metal was bending and screaming. When everything stopped, Toby sat there, breathing hard. His heart was beating like a drum. He checked himself carefully. Some cuts on his arms, some bruises. His head hurt a bit, but he was okay. It was just a small accident. But as he sat there waiting for the police, a crazy idea came into his head. An idea so wild he almost laughed. What if the accident was worse? What if he was badly injured? Would Adana still want to marry him? Would her family still push for the wedding if he was broken and maybe dying? The more he thought about it, the more the idea grew. He needed to know if these people were real or fake. He needed to see their true colors. He pulled out his phone and called Bayo. Bayo, I need your help with something crazy. And I mean really crazy. 1 hour later, Toby was lying in a hospital bed in a private room. Bayo, who was a doctor, had wrapped him up in bandages like a mummy. Machines were beeping around him. To anyone who walked in, Toby looked like someone who was about to die. Bayo called Chief Okonkwo. His voice was serious and sad. Chief, there's been a terrible accident. Your son Toby is in critical condition. You need to come to the hospital right now. Chief Okonkwo and his wife arrived so fast, you would think they flew. When they saw their son lying there like a dead person, Lady Okonkwo screamed and started crying. My son, my only son, what happened? Bayo pulled them outside the room. His face was grave. I won't lie to you. It's very bad. He has broken ribs, a cracked skull, a damaged spine, and both legs are broken. He's in a coma. We don't know if he'll wake up. And even if he does, he might never walk again. Right now, he has a 50-50 chance of surviving. Lady Okonkwo collapsed into her husband's arms, crying like her heart was breaking. Chief Okonkwo aged 10 years in that moment. His strong shoulders slumped down like a building falling. But even in his grief, he thought about the engagement party. It was in 3 days. Hundreds of people were invited. Important people, business people, politicians. What would they do now? With shaking hands, he called Uncle Chidi. There's been an accident. Toby is dying. He might not survive. And if he does, he'll be paralyzed. I don't know what to do about the engagement. At Uncle Chidi's house, the phone was on speaker. When Auntie Ngozi heard the news, her mouth opened and closed like a fish. Uncle Chidi felt like the ground was swallowing him. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Before they could even think, Adana ran into the room. Her face was twisted with horror. Daddy, you're not seriously thinking of continuing with this engagement. Darling, we need to think about this carefully. Think about what? I am not marrying a vegetable. That man is as good as dead. Even if he wakes up, he'll be a cripple forever. You want me to waste my life taking care of a half-dead man? Never! Cancel the wedding right now. Auntie Ngozi rushed to support her daughter. She's right, Chidi. I cannot allow our only daughter to throw her life away. That boy is finished. We have to cancel this engagement. Uncle Chidi felt like his head was about to explode. Do you people have any sense? Chief Okonkwo is not someone you can just play with. If we cancel now, he'll destroy us. He has the power to finish our business completely. I don't care. Adana screamed. I'm not marrying him. They argued and argued until the sun came up. Finally, in the early morning, Aunt Ngozi had an idea. A sneaky, wicked idea. Wait, Toby wanted Zema at first, right? Before we convinced them to choose Adana? What are you saying? Uncle Chidi asked. We make Zema marry him instead. We dress her up, cover her face with a veil, and do the wedding. Chief Okonkwo wants the wedding to happen to avoid embarrassment. Fine, we'll give him a wedding. By the time they find out it's not Adana, it will be too late. They're already married. What can they do? Uncle Chidi stared at his wife. The woman was wicked, but she was also smart. That's actually brilliant. I know. Auntie Ngozi smiled like a cat that caught a mouse. The next morning, they called Zema from the boys' quarters. She came quickly, wondering what she did wrong. Zema, you're getting married, Uncle Chidi said, not looking at her face. Zema blinked. Married? To who? To Toby, Chief Okonkwo's son. But I heard he's in the hospital. I heard he's dying. That's not your concern. You're marrying him in 3 days. Uncle, I don't want to get married. I want to finish school. You don't have a choice. Auntie Ngozi cut her off with a voice like ice. Either you marry him or you leave this house today. Right now. Zema felt tears running down her face. But where will I go? That's your problem. You can go and sleep on the street. Or maybe you can go and sleep on your dead father's grave in the cemetery. Your choice. Zema stood there shaking. She had no money, no other family, nowhere to run. She felt like a rat caught in a trap. Finally, she nodded. What else could she do? 3 days later, a small, quiet ceremony took place. Zema wore Adana's expensive wedding dress. Her face was covered with layers and layers of veil, so nobody could see who she was. Toby was supposedly too sick to attend his own wedding, so someone signed the papers for him. Just like that, Zema became Mrs. Okonkwo. That same evening, a driver took her to the Okonkwo mansion. The house was so big, Zema felt like she had entered a palace. A maid led her upstairs to a room. This is Master Toby's room, the maid said sadly. The poor young man. So sad what happened to him. Zema entered the room and saw her husband for the first time. He was lying on the bed, covered in bandages, with machines beeping all around him. Even with the bandages, she could see he was handsome. But he was so still, so lifeless. That first night, Zema cried herself to sleep in the chair next to his bed. Her life had become a nightmare. She was married to a dying man she didn't even know. But when morning came, she dried her tears. She had always been a survivor, so she would survive this too. The nurses taught her how to take care of Toby, how to clean his wounds, how to turn him so he wouldn't get sores, how to check his machines. Zema learned everything quickly. She was good at taking care of people. She'd been doing it her whole life. Every day, she would come into the room with a basin of warm water and clean cloths. She would talk to him as she walked. Good morning, Toby. The weather is nice today. The birds are singing outside your window. She would read the newspapers to him, tell him stories, anything to fill the silence. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The Okonkwo family watched in amazement. This girl who was forced to marry their dying son never complained once. She showed up every single day with the same gentle smile and took care of him like he was the most precious thing in the world. Chief Okonkwo pulled her aside one day. You're a good girl, Zema. I'm sorry for how you came into this family, but I want you to know, whether my son wakes up or not, you will always have a home here. You're my daughter now. Zema almost cried. Nobody had been this kind to her in years. 3 months and 2 weeks after the accident, Zema woke up early as usual. She filled her basin with warm water, got clean clothes, and headed to Toby's room. She was thinking about what she would read to him today when she opened the door and looked up. She froze. Toby was sitting up in bed, not lying down, not covered in bandages, just sitting there, looking perfectly healthy and normal, watching her with a small smile on his face. The basin fell from Zema's hands. Wham! Water splashed everywhere. She screamed so loud, the whole house shook. Ah! Chief Okonkwo came running. Lady Okonkwo came running. The maids came running. They all crashed through the door at the same time, bumping into each other like people in a comedy show. When they saw Toby sitting up, healthy and whole, Lady Okonkwo grabbed her chest. Jesus Christ, my son, you're alive. They rushed to hug him, crying and laughing at the same time. But as the excitement calmed down, Chief Okonkwo stepped back and looked at his son carefully, too carefully. Wait, how are you sitting up? The doctor said your spine was broken. How are you moving your legs? They said you might never walk again. Toby took a deep breath. Father, mother, I need to tell you something. And please don't be angry. Tell us what? Lady Okonkwo asked, her heart starting to beat fast again. The accident was real, but it wasn't serious. I just got some scratches. I was never in a coma. I was never paralyzed. I was pretending. You could hear a pin drop in that room. Everyone's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Pretending! Chief Okonkwo finally exploded. You mean to tell me I've been crying for 3 months, thinking my son was dying, and you were just pretending? I know it sounds crazy. Crazy! Crazy! Boy, you're lucky I'm too happy you're alive to kill you right now. Toby held up his hands. Let me explain. Father, you forced me to marry Adana when I wanted Zema. You wouldn't listen to me. You wouldn't even let me meet her. So I decided to test them. I wanted to see if they would still want me if I was broken and useless. If they would still push for the marriage if I wasn't a good deal anymore. Understanding slowly dawned on Chief Okonkwo's face. You sneaky boy. And the answer was clear, wasn't it? The moment they thought I was going to be a burden, they ran away faster than Usain Bolt. They didn't want their precious daughter to marry a cripple. So they sent Zema instead, thinking they could trick us. Lady Okonkwo sank into a chair. That girl Adana never came to visit you even once in all these months. Exactly. But Zema, Toby turned to look at her. She was still standing by the door, dripping wet from the spilled water, her mouth hanging open in shock. Toby stood up from the bed and walked toward her. His parents gasped seeing him walk so normally. He stopped in front of Zema and gently took her hands. Zema, I watched you every single day for 3 months. You took care of me like I was precious to you. You read to me. You talked to me. You sang to me when you thought nobody could hear. You treated me with more love than some people show their own family. Tears were running down Zema's face. She still couldn't speak. I know you were forced into this marriage. I know this isn't what you wanted. Your uncle and his wife said terrible things about you to keep me away from you. They said you wet the bed. They said you're a thief. They painted you like a bad person. He squeezed her hands gently. But all I saw was a kind, strong woman who took care of a supposedly dying stranger with so much love. He took a deep breath. We're married on paper, but not truly. So I want to give you a choice. If you want to leave, I'll make sure you're taken care of for life. You'll have money. You can go to any school you want. Live anywhere you want. You never have to worry about anything again. He looked into her eyes. But if you're willing to give me a chance, I want to marry you properly. A real wedding this time, where you actually choose me. I want to get to know the real you. I want you to know the real me. No tricks, no lies, no pretending. Just two people choosing each other because they want to. The room was so quiet, you could hear people breathing. Everyone was waiting for Zema's answer. Zema looked at this man who had pretended to be dying just to avoid marrying the wrong person. This man who had lain still for 3 whole months just to find his way to her. It was crazy. It was like something from a movie. But it was also the most romantic thing she'd ever had. She thought about her choices. She could leave and start over. That would be the smart thing to do. But as she looked into Toby's eyes, she saw something that made her heart warm. She saw someone who had chosen her when nobody else did. Someone who had noticed her when she was invisible. Someone who had waited patiently, falling in love with her kindness. Yes, she whispered, I'll marry you. For real this time. Toby's whole face lit up, like someone had switched on a light inside him. He pulled her into a hug so tight, she could barely breathe. Behind them, his parents hugged each other, crying happy tears. News spread fast. When Uncle Chidi and his family received an invitation to Toby and Zima's real wedding, Auntie Ngozi nearly fainted. How is this possible? He was dying. The doctor said. The doctors were his friend, Uncle Chidi said quietly. He had made some calls and found out the truth. It was all fake, a test, and we failed woefully. At the wedding 6 weeks later, the difference was like night and day. Zema wore a beautiful traditional outfit that Toby had chosen with her. She looked like a queen. Meanwhile, Adana sat in the church with her parents, her face sour like unripe lemon. The man she had rejected, the cripple she had been too proud to marry, was standing at the altar, healthy and handsome, looking at his bride like she was the most beautiful thing in the world. After the ceremony, Chief Okonko walked up to Uncle Chidi. His face was cold. Our business partnership is finished, cancelled, done, expired like old milk. Chief, please. Please what? You showed me who you are when you thought my son was dying. You were ready to trick us, just to save your own reputation. You used that poor girl as a substitute. That's not the kind of person I want to do business with. I almost made the terrible mistake of joining my family to yours. Thank God my son was smart enough to see through you. Chief Okonko turned and walked away, leaving Uncle Chidi standing there like a statue. Without the Okonko partnership, his business would struggle. All the money and respect he had hoped for, gone, disappeared, like smoke. And Adana, she sat there watching Toby and Zema dance at their reception, jealousy eating her from inside. She had thrown away the chance to marry a good, rich, handsome man because she was too proud. Now she had to watch the poor orphan live the life that could have been hers. But Zema wasn't thinking about any of them. She was thinking about how strange life was, how she had gone from orphan to servant to unwilling bride to chosen wife. She was thinking about the man holding her now, who had seen something special in her when she was supposed to be invisible. What are you thinking about? Toby asked as they danced. I'm thinking about second chances, she said softly, and how sometimes the worst things lead to the best things. He pulled her closer. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret saying yes to me. I know, she said, and she meant it. After the wedding, Toby kept his promise. He helped Zema go back to school. She went to university and studied social work because she wanted to help other orphans like herself. Toby supported her completely, never once asking her to stay home. The Okonkwo family loved her like their own daughter. Lady Okonkwo became the mother Zema had lost. She taught her things, supported her dreams, and loved her without conditions. As for Uncle Chidi and his family, their business struggled without the Okonkwo connection. They became less important in society. Adana eventually married someone, but never anyone as good as the man she had rejected. Sometimes, late at night, Auntie Ngozi would lie awake thinking about the orphan girl she had treated like trash, the girl who was now living like a queen. She would think about how different things could have been if she had just been kind. But Zima didn't waste time thinking about them. She was too busy living her beautiful new life. She had learned that bitterness was like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. So she chose happiness instead. She chose gratitude. She chose love. Years later, someone asked Zima about her life story. They wanted to know how she overcame so much suffering. Zima smiled and said, I learned that your lowest moment can become your greatest blessing. I learned that real love sees you when you're invisible to everyone else. And I learned that sometimes when life pushes you down a path you never chose, you might end up exactly where you were meant to be. And in her beautiful home, with the husband who had moved heaven and earth to choose her, with the family who loved her truly, and with her work helping other orphans find their way, Zima finally had what she'd been missing since the day her parents died. She had found her way home,